Hey, and welcome to video number 2, which is what's in a podcast. Now, first things first, I want to cover two main points before we actually jump right in and start looking at a bunch of podcasts. First and foremost, your podcast should be educational only. Never try to sell directly in your podcast. Otherwise, you will turn people off and people will most likely ignore you, close it, and leave. In this day and age, this year and beyond, there is so much information out there that people can simply turn you off and go find another podcast. So you'll really want to only focus on education only and give as much as you can to give. Give first and then get later. That's really how you can sell nowadays. And that's how you're going to separate yourself among your competition. So while your competition is trying to sell in their podcast, and you and yourself are giving your heart out, giving great content, and in the end, people are going to be attracted to you. They are going to share your podcast with their friends, their family, and their colleagues. And that's how you can sell the most. And also, that's how you're going to brand yourself and separate yourself from your competition. So with that said, let me talk about different types of podcasts and how you can figure out the winning formula for your own podcast. Now, not all podcasts are going to have an intro and an outro. Some podcasts simply have an intro, music, and they have the same intro and outro. Now, it is my recommendation that if you do not have a brand built yet, then having an intro and outro is actually very important because you want to make sure that you stick in people's minds introduction and the outro as well. So this is about branding, and think of your podcast as a platform to brand yourself as that type of person who is going to give lots and lots of content. People are going to learn lots and lots of stuff from you, and they're going to want lots of stuff from you, your products and your services later down the road. Because in the end, the more people are engaged in your podcasts, the more they're actually listening to all of your podcasts, then the higher the stick rate is, the longer they are going to be invested in you and they're going to want more of your stuff. So that's really what the goal is here, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a business or anything like that. And then you'll look through here and you'll find that some places, some podcasts will have introductions, but they won't have any outro. But I would say go all out. Do everything that you can do. Have an intro and have an outro. And do everything you can possibly do to create a high converting podcast, because your competition is likely not going to do all of it. They're just going to do a little bit or half of it. So what I recommend that you go ahead and do is, of course, if you don't have iTunes already, go to Google and type in iTunes, download, and go ahead and download the iTunes software. Open it up, create an account, and everything like that. From that point, then I recommend that you actually listen to podcasts that are similar in your niche, because that is who you will be competing with. Now, there are many different types of podcasts. There are video podcasts, there are audio podcasts, and more. But in this specific video series, just to keep it simple because you're learning the basics, we're going to stick with audio podcasts. So the first thing I'd recommend that you go ahead and do is click on podcasts, and then go under the all categories over here, and of course find the category that best fits your niche. So you could have business, arts, comedy, education, and games and hobbies, government organizations, and more. Now, I'm going to choose business and see what I'm up against. So just by looking through here, you can have a good idea of what could be possibly working and what might not be working as much. And what I like to do is go to the what's hot section, because that will tell me what people are looking for. And look through that first and get some ideas on possibly and potential ways that I can create my own podcast. Okay, so let's just take an example here. This is Money Girl, quickanddirtytips.com. And what I like about this podcast is you can see that there are a lot of people viewing this. She does have a good amount of podcasts. So she has a lot, up in the 100 range. But if you listen to it, she actually has a really good intro. Let me go ahead and play it, and I'll show you exactly what the intro sounds like. But you'll notice a pattern, especially for the ones that are doing well, is that you don't want to have a too long of an intro. You don't want anything that is greater than 30 seconds. You want something that is less than 30 seconds. But it's intriguing, it's interesting, because it drills it into people's minds. So let me go ahead and play this, and we're just going to listen to the first 30 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and play.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura Adams, author of the award-winning book, Money Girl, Smart Moves to Grow Rich. In addition to the weekly show, I also write a free newsletter to give you more money tips that are not in the podcast. So be sure to sign up at quickanddirtytips.com. And while you're there, connect with me on social media, subscribe to the podcast through iTunes, or read a transcript of this show, which is episode number 350, called What is the Self-Employment Tax? Working for yourself.
Okay, so I paused the video, and as you can see, she went all the way to about 32 seconds of an intro. She introduced herself, and you can do that if you want to, but I would say if you can get a voiceover artist to do it for you, then if you think about it, it's kind of like getting somebody else to introduce you versus you introducing yourself. So, I mean, you can get somebody else to talk about you. If that's the case, that actually positions you more of an expert than you talking about yourself. So, for example, you get up on stage, you're about to talk to an audience, and then the guy who introduces you merely says, "Hey, this is so-and-so," kind of in a monotone voice, not really excited or anything like that. And the audience doesn't really know you. If that's the case, think about that. If you're in the audience, you're going to probably think, this guy's probably not that interesting. But if the guy sounds really, really excited, he's really excited about you, and introduces you and positions you as the expert, then guess what? The audience is going to feed off of that energy and think, wow, okay, something's up. There must be a reason why this guy is so excited. I want to know. So you see what I'm saying? That's why introduction is so important. So I highly recommend that you go through these and just listen to podcasts in your niche and see what they're talking about, see how they talk, and things like that. Don't worry if you feel like you can't speak in terms of voice, because a lot of people don't want to do a podcast because they're afraid of their voice and things like that. Because if you are, I would actually recommend that you do a search on YouTube for a guy named Roger Love. Roger Love is a voice-over and voice coaching coach for people like Tony Robbins, Susie Orman, and people like that. But I can guarantee you'll learn a lot just by listening to his YouTube videos. In fact, I myself have studied and purchased a lot of his products, and I have to say it works really, really well. So everybody has a hidden voice. You just got to find it. You just got to get some guidance from the right people. So you can actually go to YouTube and find him. He has a website, join his newsletter, and you'll actually get a lot of free stuff that actually works. So in that area, I highly recommend Roger Love as somebody to go to in terms of his content. And you really don't need to hire him. One-on-one coaching, that can get expensive. You can do that if you want, but I just want to give you a free route that has helped me, and I know it can help you as well. Now, going back over here, let's take a look at a few other ones. We can click on See All. And what I recommend you do is just go through these. Don't really listen to all of them, just listen to a handful and specifically find ones that are related to your niche. And that way, if you have, you find somebody who has a big subscriber base and not necessarily follow them, but get an idea of what people are looking for. So that's what you're really looking for, is what are people looking for? And how can you replicate that to create that as a podcast? So that's pretty much this little specific method that I use to do a little bit of research. So with that said, let's move on to video number 3.